Hey everyone, welcome to Business Over Drinks. David here. Firstly, we'd like to give you a huge thanks for all the support and wonderful feedback been giving us. Um, Before we start the next episode, we thought to help us really grow our podcast and get some more wonderful guests on, we'd like to ask if you can quickly just subscribe to us in your favorite podcast app and write us a great review or honest review. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe or quickly hit that little like button at the bottom of the video. That's it. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Over Drinks. My name is Teng and I'm calling in from Singapore.
Hello, I'm David, calling in from Australia. And today we've got someone special.
I'm Yin, and I was just here for the drinks. So yeah, nice guy.
No, he really is here for the drinks. He doesn't care. He's not going to see anything. Actually, this is the second time we recorded at the end. The first time we did it, I think it was like the first day we were recording podcast, or like maybe the second day, and we got really drunk. We didn't know the recording quality was really bad, and I think halfway through I got up and walked out of the room to get ice because I was really drunk. So that didn't count. We're never going to publish that episode.
That night escalated really quickly.
Director's cut.
No, so like, because the story is Yin joined us, I think when we were already like half a bottle or a full bottle of gin down, because we kept on recording podcasts and then having to redo it because we just progressively got drunk or made mistakes. Or like try to do intros, but we're drinking throughout the entire process. And then you came, I literally called you, screamed in the phone, Yin, come down, bring booze. And you showed up an hour later and we'd already finished everything, gone down to the store, bought some more booze. And you came back and we drank some more. So we were not at our best.
Yin was like our booty call. Like we've been drinking, feeling a little lonely. Hey Yin, you up?
Yeah.
And then it came over.
Yin was the alcohol delivery of you up. But yeah, it was a little bit like that. But I think why we want to do this again, because the topic was really good, man. Like the topic was really good, and I think this is probably one of the few topics that's relevant to all three of us because of how we all uproot. Because I mean, I'll get in the topic in a second, but it's kind of relevant because all three of us have uprooted our lives and basically set up shop in different places. You know, some of us gone back week, Dave, but the rest of us actually like set up roots in different countries and like have varying degrees of success, right? I'm not gonna say who's the least successful, Dave, yeah. So
That's looking.
So I thought it'd be a really good time to just restart that conversation and maybe do it a little bit more professionally, because I think the first time we were just talking real rubbish and we don't know what we said. All right, man. Maybe you want to just take a Sorry?
The drinks were still pro, man. You know, that's always been true all the way through.
Yeah, so good segue actually, because I wanted to bring in the fact that I'm drinking a Pinot Grigio. So this is, I think it's an Italian Pinot Grigio called Lunadi, I think. It's quite nice. It's actually quite a light Pinot Grigio. And Dave's drinking just like the
I'm drinking Absolut vodka straight in a shot glass called New York. There we go.
That's just
Nice.
really, really nasty, man.
It's dirty. Couldn't find anything.
I'm having a classic gin Tanqueray with this is a lime version, and I'm having mine Spanish style.
Oh,
There you go.
I was gonna say something about the Inquisition, but then I thought that's a really inappropriate joke right now.
I'm gonna leave
Never.
it all for you.
All right.
so people may be wondering, anyone who's watching, we're all Asians, but we all sound really different.
Yeah, no, we do. We all come from different. Actually, I think I'm the only one who's like really Asian, as in the fact that I was born and I grew up in Asia pretty much my whole life. I never grew up or set roots outside of Asia. Just different parts of Asia. That's why I sound weird. Like
Same with
Dave.
Yin.
No, like Yin grew up in the UK, man.
Oh, that's right.
Yin, where do you think Yin grew up? Like Cambodia and then came over here? No.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened. No,
Yeah.
that's why we're interviewing you.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Wait,
Yeah, sorry.
Like
All right, which brings us.
Yin's Singapore and he sounds different, but that's because he watches a lot of the BBC for fun. What is
Yeah,
Dave? What is
probably.
wrong with you?
All
Yeah,
right.
World Service, man. BBC World Service. Freaking awesome. You know, fluent in Teletubby language as well. It's you know,
Tinky Winky. Yeah, I don't know why I put my hands up, man. That's really embarrassing. But like, why don't we just jump straight into it, man? Because I think we've done the introductions, we've talked about everything, and we've got a good base to start, right? So maybe we can just do a little bit of introduction about like where we came from and where we set up different routes, whether we went back, what we did, where we moved around a little bit. I can start if you guys want. So
Yeah.
I was born in Sri Lanka. I lived there for about 22 years, studied there, did everything, and then basically one day my parents kicked me out and told me you gotta go to Singapore. So that was over 12 years ago. I basically packed up everything and I came to Singapore to live. So far so good. So worked a bunch of years and then I set up my own business about 2.5 years ago to varying degrees of success. And yeah, and that's pretty much been my journey, right? I just basically I didn't have a job. I basically just literally packed up everything on my entire life in a suitcase and I left the country, right? Dave, you wanna go and talk about your story?
quick question, TS. Yeah. And the options of countries. Did your parents just say you're going to Singapore, or did you actually have a choice?
No, I didn't have a choice. But that's also because I had family here. So like I had like siblings. I had siblings. I had like cousins and stuff. And I was like, why don't I go to the UK? They're like, no. I'm like, I've got an uncle there. They're like, no. So I went to Singapore. Singapore's also closer, and they felt like I would fit in better because I'm Asian. I'm Chinese, and I'll just get bullied and abused for not really being Chinese. But it's better than being bullied and abused for not being white. That's what my parents said.
You can't even speak Chinese, Mandarin or Cantonese.
Yeah, you can't speak Tagalog, man. Let's not get into a pissing contest.
I can speak it Tagalog, but with an accent.
I'm joking. Yeah, no, I can't speak any Mandarin. That's the really embarrassing part about me. Yeah.
It is. I feel there's another topic of conversation there about growing up in our respective places, because obviously I am a Chinese person who grew up in a Western place and had to deal with all of that. But
So I'm not saying Yin was in a violent Asian gang. I'm not saying that. So I'm gonna say.
Thanks.
Sorry, man.
The next day, Yin is just missing. Like he's just gone. Like,
they're like, oh, we found you.
A quick question, right? As we're doing this, are you still intending to cut stuff up as needed? So if we wanted to go off at a tangent or just basically take the mickey a bit. We want a continuous cut that's genuinely quite sensible.
So we always prefer continuous cut because, to be honest, right? I mean, and this is for everybody listening as well. There's a natural flow of conversation, and I think the awkward pauses, the weird tangents we go on is actually a really important part about the concept of business over drinks, because you are drinking. It's not a fluid business conversation with an agenda that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I think if it gets too sensitive, or we feel like, okay, this added no value, it was us rambling and it's not even funny, or I mentioned that you're part of a violent Asian gang, like there are things that maybe that might be over the line. But yeah,
it's like really telling stuff we have to cut.
Yeah, no, so it's mostly my stuff, because my stuff gets really dark. So yeah, that's why I like Dave has actually cut off some of the stuff I've said, and I'm like, oh, that was really hurtful. But yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Is this big rant about how the Earth is flat? I don't know why, but it's cut it out.
Remember you telling me how you're one of the percentage of Australians who believe that Bill Gates is behind COVID-19. So yeah, Dave.
No, definitely am not. So okay, back to the topic then. So I don't even know what we're talking about.
No, because
where am I from?
So TS
just told us about his roots. and his from where to where.
Cool. So I was born in the Philippines, migrated to Australia with my parents. That's it. I did move to Singapore at some point in time, lived there for a bit. That's how I met Tung. That's how I met Yin. No, I met you through Tung years later. And that's it. That's my life. But more on Yin.
No,
There I
like
go.
so just one quick thing, man. So like, but you said like a little bit of roots in Singapore for about a year, over a year, right? A year and
Yep.
a bit, yeah. So
About 15 months.
it wasn't just a case of where you kind of like came in for a month holiday and then left, right? I think that's what you kind of need to stress on there, because otherwise it just seems as though you had a holiday. It was like, it was really good, and then you're like, I'll see
All
you.
right, fine. Okay, so I migrated to Australia when I was about 10. Couldn't speak English. Like, I remember my teacher throwing candy at me and saying something. I had no idea what it was, but eventually,
She was like, stop eating my candy.
yeah, exactly. Couldn't speak English, but I ended up writing books. I don't know why. But then I moved after I graduated from uni. I moved to Singapore for a bit. You should listen to our podcast about client experiences, because there's a funny one about how I started my career in Singapore. So you can hear all about that there. It's called Client Horror Stories.
Yeah, episode 5.
Episode 5. And then that's where I met Tung. Then I moved back to Australia.
Yeah, thanks, Yin.
That's
Thanks, Dave. Yin, what about you, man?
I'm a BBC. I'm a British-born Chinese.
Was that funny?
Sorry, you said I'm a BBC. I just immediately thought something else. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah, that is you. Yeah.
Never mind. No, that's not even funny.
Actually.
I apologize.
Yeah, that isn't funny.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah. So, British-born Chinese, and like, yeah, I basically lived my life there for 35 years, yeah, and then I've been thinking about it for a couple of years. I then found a natural break point, and decided that I wanted to move from working in the government health sector and do something completely different. I kind of did the whole kind of, should I just work in Europe or London or something? And then I thought, screw this, I'm going to go as far as possible. And I ended up in Singapore.
You could have ended up in Australia, man. It's a lot further away.
Well, I did have a plan, right? So similar to yourself, TS, right? I literally took 2 suitcases with me. I had like 60 kgs of luggage with me, so I had to pay some fines and shit like that, yeah. But you know, I uprooted and left, yeah. And the plan was, I had a few choices, yeah. So I could have done Singapore, Australia, or Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided my plan would be I'd start north and move south depending on how my luck went.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started Singapore, and then if that screwed up, I go Hong Kong, and if that screwed up, I go Perth. And I was thinking about Hong Kong first, but I decided not to, because I think I did realize at the time the kind of way that I was working in public sector, the way that I did my work and my perceptions, they were very niche, and I needed a period of time to grow. And I felt that maybe Singapore might be a better fit for me initially.
Okay.
You know, yeah. So that's how I sort of kind of formulated my plan.
So one thing that I really want to touch. Sorry, Dave, you want to carry on, please?
No, you go ahead, man.
No, so one thing that I really want to touch on, I think a little bit here was, what were some of the maybe not biases, but like the preconceived notions you had about Singapore, or like the countries you considered moving to, right? What were some of these preconceived notions you had? Maybe like, because let's focus on Singapore, because you actually did move here, right? What were some of the things that you thought it was like before you actually like came here?
So I was a little bit influenced by my family. I have got in-laws who are Singaporean, yeah. And so one of the things was I had some form of backup. You know, I wouldn't be going completely to a place where there was absolutely nothing. although my Singaporean relatives are not like nuclear close to me, they are at least related to me through brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, and all that. Yeah, so they were like really really nice, and they just said, hey, yeah, come, we'll show you around, and that was appealing. Yeah. The other thing I think was my native language, which is Cantonese, is not that good. When I go to Hong Kong, I have to put up with a lot of abuse. Because the Hong Kong people back in that time anyway, really were had a very set way about how they viewed Chinese and Asians and things like this. Yeah, so that was, and they're they're lovely people, but very aggressive sometimes.
I mean, when you say lovely people, but you preface that with like a bunch of descriptors that were not that lovely. I think we get an idea what you're coming.
This is where age comes in. Definitely when I was younger, didn't like it. Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole topic over there, yeah. But as I got older, I began to understand it, and also my language skills did improve. So like I started to get it a bit more.
Yeah, but and like Yin can speak English now.
And so, like going to Singapore, the national language. Well, sorry, the language of administration is English. Yeah, so that appealed to me as well, and. Yeah, I mean, like having met my Singaporean in-laws, they were pretty open. Oh, the other thing I should mention as well is at the time, Singapore had a scheme. I can't remember exactly what the acronym is or exactly what it's called, but basically, if you went to Singapore on a social visitors pass and you have a degree, and you have a degree, right? They will allow you to stay for a year. Okay, so normally you go in and I think it's like 30 days or 60 days, but if I could demonstrate that actually I had a certain set of qualifications, yeah, they'd actually let me stay a year, and that was actually a big deal. That's all I needed to do.
Wait,
you compare it with somewhere like Australia, I need to go through the point system.
Oh, hold the phone. You got a year's free stay, like a pass to stay in Singapore for a year.
Free.
No, but you got a pass to stay, right?
Yeah, without work, right?
Yeah.
So as long as I was skilled enough. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a bone to pick with you and probably the Singapore government, but probably not them because I'm scared. But with you, because
bring it.
I had a degree, and I too was told that I had 30 days, an extension of another 30 days, and then I can get the hell out unless I got a job. I wasn't offered this scheme. And I think I came to Singapore a little bit before you did. So,
okay.
What the hell?
I was not offered. I had to research and find.
Oh no, I was researching and finding stuff, man. That wasn't fair.
I don't know. So what I do know, yeah, is this scheme, yeah, goes on and off. So when it's available, it's available. When it's not available, it's not available. So timing wise, you might have just been a bit unlucky. And Singapore, and we might get into this yet, Singapore is about timing.
Yep. I agree.
So I don't think they were being biased against UTS, but like having known you a bit, I can understand why they might have like just kind of wanted to double check with you.
Yeah.
Just to get back on track, just so we have some content that our listeners might want to.
Okay, Dave, you're right.
Cheers, man.
So let's say one biggest fear I would have, for example, like one biggest fear I would have, for example, is like, should I move? Should I move overseas? Like when maybe my girlfriend is here, or maybe I don't have enough money. Is it worth to take that risk? And should you take that risk? What are your opinions?
Okay, so if we just think about the concept without other things getting in the way, absolutely. If you're someone who has the ability in a relatively straightforward way to kind of like up and go, and you're just wondering, it's a bit scary and I'm not sure and I don't have that much money, but maybe I could do a while there, yeah. My absolute emphatic answer would be yes, go, right? If you've got other things to consider, girlfriends, partners, stuff like this, there are other things that I can't talk about because, you know, your personal emotions and feelings and where you are will get involved. Yeah. However, even in that state, yeah, depending on where you are, um, of everyone I've ever met, and for my own experience, yeah, even if you have a bad experience, you come off better. You learn a lot more about yourself. You learn a lot more about the world. And the nice thing is, yeah, you do have to do a little bit of adaptation. You know, you have to put yourself in a position, yeah, where you have to take on new things. You've got to think about things in a new way. And it was very, very significant for me. You know, I'd come from I'd done over 10 years in a public sector. I thought only one way, you know, and when I came to Singapore, I had to not necessarily unlearn it. Some of that stuff was good, but certainly some of my actions and the way that I portrayed myself and the way that I approached things, yeah, I quickly learned that some things are good and some things are not so good. And that helped me open up my view. And I think it's a wonderful thing. You know, it really rounds off the edges in terms of what I would call personal development. It helps establish, you know, you believe X, but does it hold up?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if it doesn't hold up or needs a little bit of shaping, yeah, actually you can do it. You're in an environment, you can do it, and you've got the time to do it. You know, and you meet other expats, you meet other people who are on their journey, yeah, and if it wasn't for that, you know, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. You know,
Yeah, no, that's true.
how I'm
That's
getting
true.
you guys, right? So to me, it's really important. So without a doubt, in general, yeah, do it. You know, if you can afford it, and you can take a bit of a risk, yeah, do it. For me, I mean, when I came over, I was in my mid-30s, yeah, so I already had some backup and some savings and things, yeah. But actually, it was a mistake. I should have gone earlier. I really should have. I look back now, and I know actually I was ready. You know, I could have done it in my 30s. I could have done it. Would have been a tiny bit harder, but I realized that I had support from my family. I realized I had, you know, other things that could have helped me, you know, get through for the first immediate term. And I would have been better off if I'd come earlier, yeah. My deal in Singapore would have been exponentially better. Even if I didn't have a job to come to. I came with 2 suitcases. I stayed at my in-laws' place for a while, yeah. And I learned to make it work. You know, I had to go and find my job. I didn't come on one of these expat packages, yeah, which some of the other people did, yeah. I did it by myself, and I survived. You know, and I'm you know, I'm not the smartest guy. I think I'm pretty, you know, I think I'm pretty good, but I'm definitely not the smartest guy, yeah. And I still made it.
No, I can attest to that. He's not the
Yeah,
smartest guy.
exactly. I thought you'd back me up on this one.
So Dave, why don't you share, like, because I think you kind of did something different, right? You chose to kind of like do the same thing. Like, you basically just left the country and said, okay, I'm going to try and work in Singapore. I'm going to try and find my own thing in other countries, right? So, like, maybe just tell us a little bit that was going around in your head.
I went there as an adult. To Singapore as an adult. So I had a girlfriend as well. I didn't have any money. I was unemployed actually, but I applied for an internship program in Singapore, and they asked for money. So I borrowed the money, and I flew to Singapore without much at all. And the first 6 months was crazy. It was a crazy 6 months. I left that internship. If you listen to that podcast, you'd understand why. And because of my visa requirements, there was a chance that I could have been deported if I didn't find a job right away. Luckily, I found a job and lived there for a long time, for a bit of time, like 15 months. And it was definitely worth it. Without it, I wouldn't have met Tung, for better or worse. I wouldn't have learned really good things about business and investment. And yeah, I grew up as a person. Like, I never really lived with other housemates before until I moved to Singapore. It was all big. There's a lot of risk. It was really scary. But in the end, I highly encourage it to anyone who can do it safely and, you know, within reason. I highly encourage traveling.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think maybe the only thing I can add is because I had a little bit of a different situation with you guys, right? My main driver was my parents kicking me out, right? They were like, just get out, right? So it was different for me. Also, I had family here, so it was easier to transition. I mean, I transitioned out of living with family very quickly because like I can't do that. But it was choices I made, right? But one thing that I can add is the fact that I have no regrets about leaving. I do miss a lot of stuff, and I do find a lot of things that that I could have probably done and been successful back in Sri Lanka, but I don't regret what happened. I think of it as experiences that you gain that you won't gain back in your hometown because of, I mean, you live there, right? It's different for you. You don't have that same excitement, that same feeling, that same sense of achievement, I guess. But when you do it, but I think, yeah, I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's a lot of people may not enjoy it, but if you have the urge, I wouldn't let simple fear hold you back. I just go straight for it.
That's interesting. I kind of think slightly differently. I think it is for everyone. And the reason that I think that way is these days I think my I don't know philosophy thoughts about this is that we are a global economy and all that crap, yeah, that you've heard from all these other people. Um, you do, you absolutely do need to get out there, even for a short period of time. It makes a difference. If not, if not from a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint as well, um, down to the person that you might spend the rest of your life with, to the people who will be your friends until you die. I think it has actually grown, and I I mean my nieces and nephews, when I speak to them, I can't shut up about it. It's like if there's anything you would do, you will work abroad. You will go. You will cross the water. You will leave the island of the UK. Yeah. I mean,
Hey, sorry everybody.
Nice.
We got a little bit the recording dropped for a minute, so we are restarting from the last part that Yin was talking.
It's
All right.
because we're cheap and we're using the free version of Zoom.
I wouldn't say that, but all right, cool. All right, Yin, go ahead, man. That's why you'll see a different video.
so yeah. I mean, when I talk to my nieces and nephews, I would really I would play this record, so to speak, yeah, where I just say, it's really important. You should look to try and work outside of the UK as soon as you're ready to. It was such it's such a big deal to me. I said to them, I fund you. I mean, my generation, yeah, we've done all right. In the past, maybe I was a bit hesitant because I didn't want to put that kind of problem on my parents.
Mhm.
And that's partly maybe a little bit of the reason why I left it a little bit late. But for this generation, well, my nieces and nephews generation coming up, yeah, they don't have that. I've already told them, if you want 10 grand, yeah, to go work somewhere and you just want to see what it's like for 6 months, I'll give it to you. That is how important it is, in my opinion.
So yeah, and I want to see what it's like to work in like a new city. So I could do with some of that 10 grand. Just if
Yeah, me too, actually.
yeah, Dave wants to work in another part of Brisbane.
Yeah,
I'm
next
thinking
to-
about moving a little bit to the west in Singapore. So
But the interesting thing is, they might pay me back in love. I don't know what the fuck you guys would give me.
love,
give
man,
you love.
love, dude.
That's what I'm
Genuine
afraid
love,
of as
like-
well.
Genuine love, like
That'll be so much love from both of us, man. Don't
Oh,
doubt the
no.
love, man.
I reckon Ian's advice is exceptional, except for the caveat that just don't bring coronavirus. If you're feeling a bit sick,
Oh,
just wait a little bit. Just wait a little bit and then do it.
man, you make a COVID-19 joke like every episode.
Because it's affecting me, man.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. But yeah, I do sound like a bit of an old record to them sometimes. So I don't know. I think it's important. I think it's important to okay. So slightly off topic, but between generations and generations, yeah, I think is what's very significant about my nieces and nephews generation is between us, we can really communicate. Between my generation and my parents, yeah, it was a different mindset, different language. They came for different reasons. Yeah. At least
Yep.
my nieces and nephews are born in the UK, as am I. Therefore, our connection, or at least the things that we talk about, make a bit more sense. I mean, there's a whole load of stuff I don't understand, all the social stuff and all these bits and pieces. I'm not going to say that I fully get it, that they're really into, but there are some lasting legacies that are very important, even with the modern way that we socialize, in our communication, our connectivity, understanding how different cultures and people connect. And the best, without a shadow of doubt, the best way is still to go do it, to take yourself out of the environment you're comfortable in and just be a little bit uncomfortable. And I mean, guys, right? It will change your life, and I love it. I really do. No matter how much I bitch about so many other things, yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it is, to me, it will bring the best out of you. Yes, you'll have maybe some things that will be difficult and a challenge, and you might even have a bad time. Even those people who went back home after a while, yeah, because they couldn't stand something after a while. Those people still even say, actually, while I was there, yeah, there were things I got to know. Even if it was, I know that I'm never going to travel. Not that I've ever heard that, but it's a big thing.
We should do, like in the last bit of stuff that Yin said, we should just take that audio recording or the video recording and just like cut it. So it just seems like Yin's talking about something that's really life change for him. And we use it to sell something e-commerce wise. It's like that small part. That's perfect. Yeah. We could just sell like really random things. This exercise machine was life changing for me. I'm like, yeah, that worked. No. Sorry. I make light of it, but actually, it definitely makes sense. And I agree with you. on that point, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that whatever overused, but yes, I'm passionate about. I'm a believer of it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I tell you guys, and whoever's out there, if they give a shit, because that's what we're doing, right? We're having a few drinks.
They don't give a shit.
Yeah, I thought as much.
We found that out. They don't. Well, Dave, can I ask you, right? What was the biggest surprise for you when you moved to Singapore? Like, so just like, it doesn't have to be Singapore. Like, so because I think we use Singapore because there's commonality amongst all three of us. But what's the biggest surprise that you had from coming to live here and like as a person coming to stay, not as a holiday, but to stay and to live, to rent a place, to go to work every day? What was the biggest surprise that you faced?
Oh, the biggest surprise, man! I have that. If you listen to the podcast, there's an episode. It's some crazy experiences. Oh man, what's the biggest surprise is another story. My very first housemate. I thought, oh, it'd be like the movies, like we'd be buddies and stuff like that. But this housemate of mine would hire maids from overseas. And then when they'd come into the house, he'd be like, oh, oops, I only have one bed and one room. And eventually, apparently this has happened a few times before I came there. They'll fall in love. She would get pregnant, and the next few months later, there'll be a new maid in town. That's what surprised me the most.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I
gotta admit that was.
That was
out there. Good story. Good story, Reagan. I love it. That
was my first 6 months in Singapore. That was my first 6 months.
Man, I was talking about misconceptions about like work and culture, but not that, man. What the hell?
The culture and work is.
I can't follow that up. No one can follow up that story. What the hell? Which did you finish? I didn't know that this was a story.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. How about you, man? Well, what
I'm not following up that shit. I'm sorry. I'm not following. I'm not following up.
Going into that.
I'm not following up that story. Yin, you can share. I ain't sharing anything.
Actually, I would have said, yeah. For me, the first thing that comes to mind was far easier than I thought it would be. Partly because I had a little bit of help because there was a little bit of family there, but at the end of the day, the whole kind of language of administration, English, I didn't actually have to speak Chinese or as in like Mandarin or Cantonese or Hakka or Hokkien. It wasn't seamless, but I could speak about my experience and value and what I did. I could express myself and people would understand. Right. And it was fantastic. My story was of interest to people. Why did you move? Where are you from? How come you have a funny accent? Why here? Why Singapore? Why wouldn't you stay in the UK?
Yeah, you do have a funny accent.
Yeah.
No, but like, I'm just really glad that I didn't have to follow up Dave's story because Dave's story was just hilarious. Also, the worst story I've ever heard, man. The worst story like I've ever heard in my life.
All right, you're saying what surprised you? What was your pleasant surprise about the country?
How
old were you when you moved to Singapore?
22, man. I wouldn't say it was pleasant, man. Okay, so a little bit of background. I was the angriest person in the history of the world for the first 2 years I lived in Singapore. And it was all purely my fault, right? Because I came here thinking it was going to be a massively cosmopolitan city. It was going to be completely different from my life in Sri Lanka. And I came here, it was like really the same. But it was the same, but it was harder because I couldn't understand what people were saying, even when they were speaking English. And that's not a knock on anyone else, but because they speak English really fast here with the Singaporean accent. I can understand people perfectly now. I have no problem. But when I first came, I wasn't expecting any of this, and I refused to adapt very quickly. And I take 100% of the blame for this. But I think what happened was I came here thinking it was going to be a specific way. It was going to be super cosmopolitan. Everyone's going to speak English with a slight BBC style accent. It was going to be perfect. And it was completely different. I was living like in like the suburban areas. And like we go into these small mom and pop shops to like buy stuff, and I couldn't understand what they were saying, so I'd just leave the shop. I'll just put the thing on the counter. It's like, nah, I don't want it. I just leave. So I wouldn't get anything.
You would expect them to come up to you and go, "All right, mate, how you doing?"
I'm like, hi. Would you like to get it?
Yeah. Do you want pie? Is that what you want? Yeah, I can get that for you. No problem. It's all right, man.
It's all the problem from watching like Blackadder episodes as well as like Monty Python was like a thing, No. It was just, I think I expected too much, and the moment I was disappointed, I kind of just regressed as a accepting person. That was my I did. I regressed as a human being, Dave. Thanks, man. Right. Yeah. By the way, when you talked about your flatmate, like, getting domestic workers and like, maids to come like live with them, right? Was that you? Just curious.
I think definitely not me. I wouldn't even do that as a no way. No, I want to talk about the story.
I just like how you sound really guilty. You're like, it wasn't me, man. Who told you that? What?
We'll have a chat. I'm just sending you messages privately right now.
Yeah. I'm just getting WhatsApp messages. Just keep quiet, Jung. You keep quiet on the WhatsApp. I'm just seeing the WhatsApp messages now. No, I just want you to.
Well, I think it's for another podcast episode, but I'd love for you to talk about that girl's brother who was like threatening you. But we'll talk about another time. That was a funny story. That was a good story. I'm sure Yin has some good ones. Maybe we should do another episode where we just do some crazy stuff and people we encounter. We should do another episode like that.
I think that would just be a really funny episode that we do. No business value to anyone, man. Like no value to anyone. You're looking to like set up their life in another country or anything. It would just be just like what happened. Like you expand on on your flatmate. I talk about some really weird things that happened to me. And Yin has stories though. Yin has real stories.
I have stuff, I guess. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard some of
Oh
those
no,
stories.
Yin has some real stories though. Like they're all really
Real dark
dangerous.
stories.
Just really,
No, no,
really
no. They're,
dark.
they're fine. They're fine. They're fine. I can make them. I can make them all PG.
Excellent. Hey guys, I think we're 20 minutes. So
All right. Maybe we can just summarize really quick, man. Like because I think Yin, thanks for coming. First of all, thanks for coming on the podcast, man. That was really interesting. I think your
Yep.
your perspective and your point of view is very different from ours as well because you came in a little bit older than us and you came in like with a different mindset. When I came in, like I was 22, like I didn't know anything, right? When Dave came in, you were what, 24, 23, 24?
I think it was 25.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Okay. Like so
25,
ancient.
26.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So like when you came in, it was like we all came in with different perspectives, right? So it was good to get a different view of everything. And I think that thanks for coming and sharing all that
Oh
with
shit, I was
us.
22. Sorry.
No, thanks, Dave, for ruining my entire. Oh
His
shit.
little thank you message.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So, but yeah. But what I think that might be useful for hopefully for people that are listening was the fact that it isn't really that challenging or that difficult or that hard to basically uproot your life and start afresh in another country because it's a great experience. I think all three of us don't regret what happened. We may regret circumstances and certain things, but we don't regret the outcome.
So
I mean speaking for myself, but that's what I think.
yeah, I mean, like I'm with you, TS. Because it's me, I would rephrase it slightly and just say that there is reward there, you know,
No.
and there are challenges. There are challenges to doing things.
Yeah, it's just really English. Oh no, I agree with you, but let me just change. Let me just change the words.
You know,
Completely.
this is how I would express it, right? It is about the reward because the hurdle that everyone has
jeez.
over is different for everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't,
No, I
I'm
think
sorry, man. Like
he's agreeing with you. I think.
this is the dude I am, right? But I am with you, TS. I'm definitely with you on this. Yeah. And that's the bit that I want to. That's the bit I would stress. I mean, like the last time we spoke about this, we continued the conversation a lot more. We went to a lot more other bits and pieces. Yeah. It is you know, the satisfaction, you know, the ability to when you take a moment to reflect and look back at your choices, yeah. It is very meaningful, yeah. And unlike you young guys, yeah, I'm a bit older, so I'm in this phase, you know, that they're like still probably in their 20s. Well, I am in my 40s. So it's a bit different for me, and that's why not that I'm trying to change words or anything. I see it slightly differently, and this is why that's why I just kind of like wanted to say it that way, TS. If you don't mind me kind of being a bit of a dick.
I'm used to it, man. It's all right. No, but anyway, just final thing, man. We want to thank you for like coming on, man, sharing a lot of your. It was really interesting.
I really loved it, and I hope for any other topic or any other thing where you want to like have a few drinks, you know, I'm really, really up for it. And to you guys as well for being really generous, because I'm sure there was plenty of things you could have said.
Oh, we had so many things to say. And no, but hold on, but guys, like we should really do another podcast. Like Dave, I think you are onto something. We should really do another podcast about crazy stories about selling here, man.
Yeah.
We could get a few, like we could get another person on as well. Like I know a few other people that we all know that we could share a lot of like just really terrible things.
If you guys want us to go on a few tangents, do a few specials, hit us up on social media or
drop us a message and we'll get on something. We'll talk about real things because it's I mean that'll be a slightly different topic. And Yin will share some really dark things. Really dark stuff.
I'd like to introduce my girlfriend who's just right beside me who walked in.
Yin's going to be sharing all of us stuff.
Hey
City, how are you?
How you going?
Yeah, so I mean, there's I mean, so it's an interesting thing I guess in my head they might not be that interesting, but I think maybe we'll talk about it, yeah, and see what works.
Yeah. All right.
Right. And I can definitely say TS that those ones where you kind of end up crying in the corner, don't do those ones.
Oh,
Right?
We shot something like that, but we decided not to air it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
Something about it.
we genuinely stopped that one because we're like too much. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I think we've come to the end. I think everybody's kind of probably sick of listening to us right now. But yeah, so I'll end this podcast. I'll stop recording the podcast now. But and Dave, do you want to say anything at the end?
No, just a huge thank you once again to Ian. And we didn't really get to introduce like your resume to everyone, but for those who want to know, Ian is a pretty accomplished person. He's moved up in the ranks professionally and obviously personally in his life, and he's doing quite well for himself.
Yeah, Yen's on
so thanks for your
sabbatical. Yen's on sabbatical right now, so he's basically just taking time off to discover himself, like I don't know, man, just like finding himself.
Eat, pray, love.
Yeah, eat, pray, love. Eat, pray, love style.
That's it. That's it, man.
That's why it's
That's it,
time to
man.
be on this podcast. So Yen won't be on this podcast. Yen be like, stop talking to me.
Oh my god.
You just need that bracelet with beads in it.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
There's nothing wrong with bracelets.
You should be wearing elephant pants as well, man. Just like in a singlet.
So, if there is
elephant pants and a singlet, man.
if there's an opportunity that you want to talk about sabbaticals, sure. That is a life stage.
Oh, no offense, but that's gonna be the most boring episode in the world. I sleep at 4 a.m. and I wake up at 4 p.m. Oh, sabbatical day 1, sabbatical day 7. I sleep at 5 a.m. now. I wake up at 7 p.m.
There's other stuff, but sure, yeah, you just want to take that route. It's okay, it's fine. But Dave, that is very generous of you, more so than TS. Like, essentially enough.
Oh, you're
So
welcome.
thank you for that. You know, I count myself reasonably lucky, and I'm grateful for it. Like you said, the experience and the rewards, yeah, sure, depending on who you are, how you look at things, contextual, blah blah blah, blah, whatever you want to do it. But I look back at it and I think, you always start with it could have been a lot worse, but as you kind of look at this stuff, it's kind of like actually some of it was a good laugh, and I will say definitely being here in Singapore, meeting you guys, and the many other people we've met, including the random strangers, it was a good laugh. I really did have I really am still having
the
a really
random
good.
strangers.
Yeah, you do. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
those random strangers.
Yeah, you meet interesting things, and I think maybe again one of the things we didn't really touch is Singapore is a place where it's actually a kind of a hub for Southeast Asia, and Singapore itself, you can run out of things relatively quickly, but once you get on a plane and you kind of like run off to another place, another experience, it's an amazing thing.
Hey man, that's business. That's right? Business over drinks after dark, man. We don't.
Yeah.
That's it. That's separate.
Yeah.
That's separate.
Sure.
Okay, guys. Okay, I'm gonna end it here, man. But thanks, Ian. Thanks for your time, man.
No worries,
Right.
guys.
Thanks, Ian. Love you.
Yeah, check out our website, businessoverdrinks.com, for show notes, and we'll have everything that we talked about. This and a summary of everything we talked about as well. All right, thanks everybody.